They called me crazy. They said it was impossible, a pipe dream, a total waste of my time. For years, while the skeptics laughed and whispered behind my back, I was quietly building something. Something I knew, deep down, would prove them all catastrophically wrong. Today, I am finally pulling back the curtain on the secret project that silenced every single one of them. You are not going to believe what happened next. It all started with a simple idea. A spark in the middle of the night. I was so excited. I couldn't wait to tell my friends, my colleagues, anyone who would listen, but the reaction wasn't what I expected. I got eye rolls, dismissive, waves of the hand, and the classic, "That'll never work." The negativity was overwhelming. It wasn't just them. Their doubts started to creep into my own head. I was battling some serious imposter syndrome. Was I really crazy? Were they right? It was at that moment I made a decision. I wouldn't try to convince them with words anymore. I would go dark. I decided to keep the entire project completely under wraps, shielding it from the negativity until it was ready, and so the unseen grind began. My life became a series of late nights, early mornings, and weekends spent not at parties, but in my workshop, hunched over prototypes. I remember one night, around 3 a.m., a critical component failed. I was completely stuck, with no one to call for help or bounce ideas off of. It was just me and the problem. That isolation was tough. There was no external validation, no pats on the back, just the quiet hum of my machines and the constant voice of self-doubt. But in that solitude, I found a strange kind of focus. I had to get creative. I had to MacGyver solutions. I had to rely on my own ingenuity. It was just me, my idea, and a relentless belief that this had to work. Every small breakthrough, every tiny success was a private victory that fueled me to keep going. Then, the day finally came. The project was finished. It was time for the reveal. My heart was pounding as I invited the very same people who had laughed at me years ago. I didn't say much. I just let the project speak for itself. The room went silent. I saw their faces shift from smug curiosity to confusion, then to wide-eyed disbelief, and finally, to pure, unadulterated awe. The results were undeniable. The numbers, the performance, the impact, it was all there in black and white. It wasn't a pipe dream anymore. It was a reality. And it was more successful than even I had dared to imagine. What happened next was the most interesting part. One by one, the skeptics came up to me, not to gloat, but to understand. They were genuinely fascinated by how they had gotten it so wrong. We talked about their initial doubts, which mostly came from a place of it's never been done before. They couldn't see the path because it hadn't been paved yet. It was a powerful lesson. People often doubt what they can't visualize. But when you present them with concrete, irrefutable results, there's no room left for skepticism. Their entire perception had shifted. Not because I argued with them, but because I showed them. Looking back, the biggest lesson I learned from this whole experience is the power of quiet determination. Don't let the noise of other people's opinions drown out your own inner voice. Sometimes, the best thing you can do is put your head down, do the work, and let your success be the noise. So I want to ask you, what's your secret project? What's that crazy idea that everyone tells you will never work? My advice? Don't argue. Just build. Protect that idea, nurture it in private, and work on it relentlessly. You might just shock everyone, including yourself. Thanks so much for watching. If this story resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe for more. I'll see you in the next one. Have you ever felt like you were constantly blamed, misunderstood, or the problem in your family? What if I told you that the very label of family scapegoat could be the hidden catalyst for extraordinary success? This video isn't just about overcoming adversity. It's about transforming a painful past into an unstoppable future. Growing up, I was the designated problem child. If something went wrong, all eyes turned to me. I remember one holiday. A valuable family heirloom shattered, and before anyone even knew what happened, my name was the first one called out in accusation. It didn't matter that I was in another room. I was the easy target, the convenient explanation for any chaos or unhappiness. This constant blame wasn't just unfair, it burrowed deep inside me. I started to believe it. My self-worth plummeted, and I developed this desperate need for acceptance, a hunger to prove I wasn't the monster they made me out to be. I felt fundamentally unlovable. The weight of that label is suffocating. You start to see yourself through their distorted lens. But then, one day, something shifts. For me, it was during a particularly heated family argument where I was, once again, the centerpiece of all the drama. I looked around at the chaos, the finger-pointing, the refusal of anyone else to take responsibility, and it was like a switch flipped. I saw the pattern with crystal clarity. I wasn't the problem, I was the symptom of a much larger issue. In that moment, I decided enough is enough. My first act of rebellion wasn't some grand gesture. It was a simple no. No, I won't take the blame for that. No, I won't participate in this argument. It felt terrifying, like I was severing a limb, but it was also the most empowering thing I had ever done. These small acts of setting boundaries were my first steps toward freedom. I also realized I couldn't do it alone. I started talking to a therapist, someone outside the family bubble who could offer an objective perspective. This was crucial. Having someone validate my feelings, telling me I wasn't crazy, was like a lifeline. I began to build my chosen family, friends and mentors who saw me for who I was, not for the role I was assigned. With this newfound support, I began the real work, forging a new identity. I had spent so long reacting to my family's definition of me that I had no idea who I actually was. I started a journey of intentional self-discovery. What did I like? What were my passions? What did I value? It was like meeting myself for the first time. I learned to build resilience, to face criticism without letting it shatter my fragile sense of self. Every small win, whether it was finishing a project, getting a good grade, or just making it through a tough day without falling into old thought patterns, became a building block. I celebrated them all, creating a momentum of self-belief that my family's narrative couldn't stop. This momentum carried me forward and I started to achieve success. But it was success on my own terms. It wasn't about getting rich to prove them wrong. It was about creating a life of impact, freedom, and genuine fulfillment. I realized that my painful past had given me superpowers. The constant struggle gave me incredible grit. Being misunderstood gave me deep empathy for others. Being the outsider gave me an unconventional perspective that became my greatest asset in my career. For instance, my ability to see problems from a different angle, a skill honed by years of trying to navigate complex family dynamics, helped me solve a major issue at work that everyone else was stuck on. That was a turning point, proving that my past didn't have to be a liability. It could be my secret weapon. Today, my life is unrecognizable from what it once was. Maintaining those boundaries is still an ongoing process. It's about protecting the peace I've worked so hard to build. Old patterns can try to creep back in, but now I have the tools to shut them down. My journey has made me a passionate advocate for mental well-being and self-empowerment. I share my story not for pity, but to show others who might be in that same dark place that there is a way out. It's an ongoing journey of growth, of embracing my vulnerabilities and constantly redefining what's possible. Your past does not have to define your future. You have the power to write your own story. Thank you so much for watching. If this resonated with you, please consider subscribing for more content on turning adversity into strength. Imagine living next door to someone for years, thinking you know them, only to discover their entire past is a lie. What if the friendly face you see every day is hiding a secret so dark it could shatter an entire community? Get ready, because today we're unmasking a shocking truth that proves you never truly know who your neighbors are. Our neighborhood was the kind you see in movies: manicured lawns, kids playing in the street, and summer barbecues. And at the center of it all was Mr. Henderson. He was everyone's favorite neighbor. He organized the annual block party, helped elderly residents with their groceries, and always had a warm smile and a kind word for everyone. He was, by all accounts, the perfect neighbor, the pillar of our community. But looking back, there were oddities. He never talked about his family or where he came from. If asked, he'd skillfully change the subject with a charming joke. We just assumed he was a private person. Nobody ever thought to question it. Why would we? He was just good old Mr. Henderson. It all started with something small, almost insignificant. I was cleaning out my attic and stumbled upon a box of old newspapers my grandfather had saved. Tucked inside was a faded clipping from a city hundreds of miles away, dated 30 years ago. The article was about a major financial scandal, a massive fraud case that had ruined countless families. And there, in a grainy black and white photo, was a much younger man being led away in handcuffs. The resemblance to Mr. Henderson was uncanny, but I brushed it off as a strange coincidence. But the thought wouldn't leave me alone. That night, I fell down an online rabbit hole. Sleepless nights turned into a private, obsessive investigation. I searched old public records, digital newspaper archives, and court documents. The more I dug, the more my unease grew. Then, I found it, the first concrete link. The man in the article had a different name, but his date of birth matched the one Mr. Henderson had on a community volunteer form. A chill ran down my spine. The friendly man who watered my plants when I was on vacation, was he connected to this devastating crime? The full truth, when it came out, was more shocking than I could have ever imagined. Mr. Henderson wasn't his real name. He was the architect of that massive fraud scheme from 3 decades ago. He had swindled investors out of their life savings, leaving a trail of financial ruin and broken lives. After serving a short prison sentence, he vanished. He legally changed his name, moved across the country, and meticulously crafted a new identity, the identity of the kind, generous Mr. Henderson we all knew and admired. He had used his charisma to build a wall of lies, a perfect facade to hide the perpetrator he truly was. When the truth finally became public, the shockwave that hit our neighborhood was like an earthquake. Disbelief quickly turned to betrayal and then to fear. Who was this man we had welcomed into our homes? The trust that had been the bedrock of our community crumbled overnight. Friendships fractured. People who had been close to him felt foolish and violated. The story inevitably hit the news, and suddenly our quiet street was swarmed with reporters and camera crews. Our peaceful sanctuary became the center of a media storm. Our lives turned into a spectacle. The confrontation was quiet, not dramatic like in the movies. When faced with the evidence, the mask just fell. There were no more charming smiles, just the hollow look of a man whose carefully constructed world had imploded. While his old crimes were past the statute of limitations for further legal action, the social consequences were absolute. He was a ghost in his own home, a pariah on the street he once ruled. The process of rebuilding trust in our community has been slow and difficult. How do you learn to trust again when the person you trusted most was a complete stranger? It's a lasting lesson. You can never truly know what secrets lie behind closed doors. It reminds us all to look beyond the surface, because sometimes the most perfect picture hides the darkest truths. Thanks for watching, and if this story resonated with you, consider subscribing for more.